Yes.
Perfect. All right. We're going to jump right in. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. If you have to miss this live training session and watch the replay, first of all, I apologize for us having to reschedule this. Apparently, Mother Nature had other plans for us last week than doing this on Wednesday. So whether you're watching live or this as a replay, this presentation will be stored on our leadership library, so you can revisit it often. Let me start by introducing the team that will be here to walk you through the state network certification. We have Jamie Saltman, our Director of Network Engagement. Jamie, say hi.
Hi.
We have Jeff Hornberger, our Executive Vice President and our Chat Manager.
Morning.
We have Chris Piccola Lee, your First Vice President.
Oh,
Good morning. Is she playing freeze tag again?
Oh no, am I frozen?
no.
We also have Eileen Oldroyd, Stacy Krolak, and Sheila Moran, our national liaisons. And I am Sylvia Siebold, your president-elect. All right, before we dive in, take a second and go to the national website, and you can either save or print the certification program for the state network. If you go to our national website and you look at network tools on the far right, it will be the very bottom on the drop-down menu. And that is network certification program. You'll be able to pull up everything, including the Friday training for local networks. So I just want to clarify, if you are here, you should not be a local network officer. It doesn't mean that you can't watch this, but this training is specifically for the state leaders. So if you are here by mistake, there is local training that you can go and watch. It's already on this website. Go to Network Tools and then Network Certification Program, and you can watch the training from last Friday. For our state leaders that are here, I want to give you some results from our training on Friday. We had, and congratulations to Arizona, our #1 state. We had 20 people registered from Arizona, which was outstanding. But don't think that that is not good numbers compared to another state like, say, New Mexico, that we had 1 person, which is 50% of their leadership in the state. So that was great attendance. And if you missed it, again, I highly encourage all local leaders as well as state leaders to watch the training that is on that website. All right, Jamie, do you want to pop in and do anything?
I'm here for support, but I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
Okay, all right. Got my cheerleader. All right, I want to first remind you of the role of the state network. And this is 100% taken out of the state network model. So the state network will be focused solely on delivering value to local networks and members in the following areas: identification and development of leaders. And this is to complement and enhance the local and national efforts. 2, the development of industry relations and collaborations as the voice of women in real estate, including relationships within organized real estate and with related industry organizations. 3, delivery of a consistent Women's Council brand and messaging. And then 4, development and support of the local network, including local network orientation and training, facilitation of local leader networking and collaboration, local network issue management and compliance, and then, of course, development of new networks. So we're really going to be talking a whole lot about that 4th bullet, development and support of the local networks, on this call. In the past few years, we've reimagined Women's Council from our local network model to the state network model and even our regional structure. Along the way, there have been numerous tools developed to make our leaders successful. However, there has been one missing tool. Wallace Wattles says it's essential to have good tools, but it is also essential that the tools should be used in the right way. This is why Jamie and I are here today to help you. We're going to show you the who, what, when, why, where, but most importantly, the how your state can successfully implement a system so that your local networks, as well as your state network, can achieve certification, creating true value for your members and leaders. The Women's Council Network Certification Program is here officially. This first ever program recognizes and rewards the most active local and state networks that achieve 5 benchmarks of network excellence and that exceed basic model requirements while providing outstanding member service. Walk you through everything you need to know. Be a pioneer and ensure that your state participates and ensure that your network efforts are recognized this November on stage at our national conference in San Diego. All right, we're going to jump right in. I'll remind you, if you are not muted, please mute yourself. Feel free to use the chat, ask any questions you have along the way. If they are pertinent and need to be asked out loud, Jamie will ask them and we'll discuss them out loud. If it's just a quick answer, then Jeff or Jamie can monitor the chat and answer them as we go along. We will have plenty of time for question and answers at the end. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to put them in the chat. Who is eligible to apply for this certification? Everyone, and everyone should apply. The current president of the network must be the one to submit the application, and that is both with the local network as well as the state network. The current president should be submitting the application. However, that doesn't mean that this is the sole responsibility of the president. President-elects need to be very involved. This is your roadmap to have a successful year as president. And what better training ground as a president-elect than to walk side by side with your president as they're working on this? The what? We have benchmarks. There's 5 benchmarks in both reports. So we're going to talk briefly about the local, but mainly the focus of our call today is about your state certification. Local certification is on the left. State certification is on the right of your screen. The main difference is going to be the yellow piece of the pie, which for local certification is member services and state certification is network services. If you remember, one of the key bullet points of your state model is your network services, and that is where this piece of the pie comes in. So what are the benchmarks? We have network services or member services for the local. We have leadership development and engagement, administration and governance, communication, and finally, recruitment and retention. The when, you're probably asking when. Well, you want to start right now doing this. There are certain things we're going to talk about today that you can absolutely do right now, and hopefully you've already done so that you can check those boxes on your certification report. But the application period is August 1st, 2021 through October 1st, 2021. And all networks, state and local, will be recognized and awarded at the national conference in San Diego. Why? Do you have a restaurant that you like? Okay, it's just down the street and sometimes the food's good, but maybe not always. And the service is a toss-up, so you never know exactly what you're gonna get. And then you have a restaurant across town. It may even take you 30 minutes or more to get there, but it's your favorite. The food is consistently delicious. The service is superb, and it may even be a little more expensive. You will drive right past the closer restaurant to the restaurant across town because you know the experience you're going to have. Price and value are not necessarily the same thing. When you can combine both excellence plus consistency, you create truly exceptional value. And if that's not reason enough to participate, here's the why. Participating certified networks are entitled to the following benefits: recognition at our award ceremony at the national conference in November, an electronic badge for display on your microsite or other network materials and publications, acknowledgement on WCR.org as one of our certified networks, and also press releases created by National for network distribution on different media outlets. We recognize that we have rolled out the local and state model with the assumption of live events. For the past year, we've transitioned into virtual, hybrid, and even a few live events here and there. Even with the various delivery options, you can still provide exceptional member value. This certification program is tangible and practical. It will make sure that your network is achieving certain benchmarks that deliver this value to your members. Jamie, do we have any questions yet that we need to?
Not yet.
Perfect. All right, the where and how. Your networks, both state and local, will be filling out an application, which is going to serve as an assessment tool to determine whether the network is meeting and, more importantly, exceeding basic benchmarks that adhere to both the network model and a completion of tasks and achievements that meet and exceed the standards. As we said earlier, it's recommended that networks begin the certification process now and meet benchmarks by the application submission period, which again is August to October, which provides a 7-month window to achieve all these benchmarks. The state certification program and this training is going to be divided into 2 different parts, just like running the state network requires 2 different parts: development and support of local networks, as well as running your state network. We'll discuss facilitation of your local network certification and the completion of your own state certification. Our time today is limited, so we're going to dive into the easier of the 2 items first so that we have plenty of time to discuss your local networks. We promise to discuss the state report quickly but efficiently, and we'll say to answer all your questions at the end. If you have questions, feel free, jot them down on a piece of paper, jot them in the chat. We will answer them. So let's go. If you printed out that state certification form, it looks similar to this, or if you have it on another screen or however you want. And we're going to literally go line item by line item to make sure you understand everything the report is asking. As we discussed, there are 5 benchmarks to the state report. The first area is network services. We'll briefly discuss this one point, but probably more than half of today's training is going to be on this one point. In order for a state to receive state certification, more than 50% of their local networks must be certified, which is question 1. More than 50% of your local networks must be certified. You're probably asking why this percentage, and I did not mention it earlier, but there was a task force that developed this whole certification process, and there were small states, there were large states, there were national liaisons, there were national officers, there were all kinds of people on this task force, and 50% was the actual number that was suggested for this. And why is that? Because if you have a state that maybe only has 4 networks, that means you have to have at least 2 be certified for a state to be certified. If you have a large state that may have 20 networks, that means you need at least 10 to be certified in order for your state to be certified. But one of the key components of running a state network is the development and support of your local networks. That's why 50% was chosen, as it is one of the most crucial responsibilities of a state network. And you're probably asking the question, how will we know if our local networks are certified? Again, we're going to be talking about that in the end and give you suggestions of ways to monitor the locals so you know that they are certified. The second part of our pie is leadership development. This benchmark ensures connectivity and engagement with other local Women's Council entities, including local, state, and national. There are 4 parts to this question, and we're going to go by them one by one. 2A, the state president attends a minimum of 2 national flagship events. And you're probably asking, what are national flagship events? What does that mean? Elevate, that we just completed the first week of February. If you're a state president and you attended Elevate, then you can check that box. You've attended one of them. We'd like for you to attend all 3 of our events, mid-year in May, which is virtual, and that will be May 5th through 7th. That is another one of our flagship events. And then, of course, our national conference in November, which you'll want to be there to achieve your certification and receive your recognition there. And for this, you'll just enter the president's name and the events that they attended, and national will verify. 2B, your state network provides an orientation to all the 2021 leadership teams by the first quarter of the year. And this one needs a little explanation because this has to be completed by March 31st of 2021. Many states, such as mine in Texas, they do a fall leadership orientation. And some states call it a leadership retreat, leadership boot camp. This is training of your local leaders by your state leaders. So if it happened in the fourth quarter of 2020 or in this first quarter of 2021, then this will complete that obligation. You can also, if you did not do a leadership orientation for your state, locals can receive this certification and states can receive this this checkbox on this one by watching the New Year kickoff that was held on January 11th. That will fulfill for this year the requirement of orientation. If you have not done an orientation and do not plan on doing one by then you do need to request a copy of this video from Jamie Saltman. And Jamie, you want to drop your email in chat? So
Yes, I will.
Perfect. 2C, the state network participates in a national leadership identification and development program. That is, that means that you submit names for our leadership identification and development program. Of course, national will verify this, and we will have more information on the LID process, LID being short for leadership identification and development, in the next few months in our roadmap. So you will want to make sure that your state does participate in getting names submitted to national for that. And then 2D, the 2022 president, so your currently 2021 president-elect and your 2022 state liaison attend Network 360 in August of 2021. And to fulfill this, you'll just submit the names and national will verify that they did attend that. Any questions on leadership and development?
I don't see anything in the chat just yet.
Okay, perfect. Moving on to administration and governance. This benchmark ensures operational excellence and thorough administration to ensure the network continues annually, if I could talk. All right, and there are several things on this, so it's actually going to be a couple of slides. So 3A, your 2021 officers were formally reported to national by March 1st using our online form. Jeff or Jamie, can you drop that in the chat, the link to that? Hopefully, as a state, you have already reported all of your 2021 officers. If you have not, you've got roughly a week to submit the names to national to get this this part of the application completed. And you do need to do that as soon as possible. Literally, you can do it today if you have not done it already. 3B, affiliation agreement. Also, this is something that hopefully you have already submitted from your state, but if you have not, you will need to submit this within the next week to national. And on both of these items, the 3A and 3B, you will be putting the date that you reported it to national. If you're reporting it today or tomorrow or something, put the exact date. If you reported these back when they were due, then put approximate date. I don't want you to go hunting and pecking and searching for those dates, but if you submitted these in October of 2020, you can put October 2020 on your application form so that we know that they were submitted at that time. If you know an exact date, feel free to put the exact date. 3C, your treasurer filed taxes on time. So enter the date that your treasurer files taxes. 3D, the 2022 elections are completed and names are submitted to national by 10/31/21. On this one, Remember, applications are due by October 1st. So if you do not submit your names until maybe October 15th, because your state meetings are October 2nd, and that's when your elections are going to be done, and then you'll be submitting, just put the date that you will be submitting these the officer names to national. 3E, the 2022 state liaison was appointed and reported to national by June 1st, 2021. This is an actual deadline per our model, and you'll also want them to be able to come to Network 360. So make sure you report them on time, and you will just enter the date that you submitted them to national using the online form. 3F, the state network has recent standing rules, which are posted for public display on document section of the microsite. Make sure that you have your current standing rules. You don't have to update your standing rules all the time, but if you do update them, make sure you replace your old standing rules with your updated standing rules so that they are easy to find. 3G, the budget for 2021 was submitted to your national liaison no later than March 1st. Again, this is something that was due several months ago, but if you have not submitted your 2021 state budget to your national liaison, be sure and send that over to them within the next week. All right, 3H, strategic plan will be submitted to your national liaison prior to November 1st. Some states do a strategic planning session in the summer. Some might not do it until the fall. It is due to your national liaison prior to November 1st. If you have not submitted it before you submit this application, give us the date you project that you will be sending that to your national liaison. And as a reminder, there is a template for doing strategic plans for your state if you've not done one already. 3I, your network utilizes an electronic file share system. This ensures that your officer teams obtain historical administrative paperwork, relevant information, and other tools to ensure that your operations are running smoothly. So there are no requirements here. Just tell us what you're using. Are you using a Google Drive? Are you using Dropbox? What are you using to make an easy transition between officer leadership teams? And 3J, network has officer positions filled and or replaces officers in a timely fashion. Don't leave those officer positions unfilled for a long period of time. You will just be creating more work for other officers, and we want to make sure that they get reported to national using the online form if you need to make any changes to officer positions. Any questions on administration and governance, Jamie?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay.
You're very quiet today, everybody. You got all this. We're looking forward to your questions.
I think it's a Monday morning, maybe. I don't know.
Hey.
Okay, communication. This is our image and branding, and this benchmark ensures that the network's image is consistent and meets our standards. If you are not aware, I want to draw your attention that there are branding guidelines on our national website, and Jamie or Jeff, you might drop that link in case they need it in there. And all of these are going to make sure that you adhere to those guidelines. Again, this one has several bullet points, so we'll go over each one of them. 4A, your microsite training was completed by officers that have admin privileges. So here you're going to enter who attended training and what dates. So the training dates to help you were on December 1st and December 8th. There is on-demand training available under the network tools section of WCR.org. And I'm going to take this opportunity to just draw your attention to a question that was asked on the local training session. But how will you know? How will you know if we watch the on-demand? First of all, we're going to trust you. You are honest and ethical business people, and we're going to trust that you're not going to lie about completing the on-demand training. But furthermore, if you say that you completed the training and you're emailing national every week with, oh, how do I access my microsite, or how do I do this or that, we're going to know that you lied. So I'll just put it out there now so no one has to ask that later, because it was asked on Friday. So complete that training. For B, microsite is used as the state's primary communication vehicle with current, timely, and relevant information, including the following benchmarks. Make sure your president's welcome message is customized and changed. I know on local levels, we have a couple of repeat presidents. And if you look at their microsite, it says, I'm so happy to be serving in 2020. We are now in 2021. Make sure any messages are updated there. List your current strategic partners and with their logos and links, and make sure your events, either held or to be held, are online. Current officer photos and key network documents are posted. If you remember, standing rules is one of the other items that should be there. So you'll just list your microsite on this one to complete that. For C, network has a minimum of one social media platform in use with timely and, most importantly, brand compliant information on there. So we don't care what you're using. Tell us what you're using. Are you using Facebook as your primary social media? Do you use Instagram? Are you using Twitter? What are you using? And just give us the link to whatever you're using. For D, the network utilizes systematized communication vehicles and electronic registration platform in order to keep its membership informed of activities and meetings. So example, your newsletters, or are you using MailChimp to send flyers? What are you doing? Just describe to us. We'll be fill in the blank of what communication medium you're using and how often are you doing it? Are you doing monthly emails? Are you doing as needs emails? How is that coming out? For E, 3 officers regularly read the National Roadmap newsletter. This is sent bi-weekly, sometimes weekly, by National. And note, National knows if you're opening it and they know if you're reading it. So to meet this benchmark, 50% of your officers must open and read. So you will confirm by saying yes, that your officers are opening and reading it. Again, we can check because our email system shows us who opens and reads emails, but also if we're getting asked the same questions again and again and again, we know that you're not reading them because they are in the roadmap, and the roadmap is going to make it very successful for you. Just to point out, we have been asked the questions. Roadmap does not get sent to district vice presidents if you have district vice presidents, so you'll want to make sure that you are forwarding that to them so that they can be up to date on information that is going out. For F, the network has a program that recognizes the successes and achievements of their members. This could include a social media shout out, a press coverage, awards, anything that just is some recognition. What are you doing to recognize your members or your local networks? And you'll just briefly describe what you do. Any questions on communication, Jamie?
There's one question with regard to how can you tell if you're, as a state officer, state president, how can you tell if your local networks have viewed the microsite training?
You cannot tell if they have viewed the microsite training. Again, it will be similar. I would ask the question, have you viewed the microsite training? Because that is one of the items on their report too. Remind them, send them the link even. You can even ask them a question out of the training to know that they have done that. But also if they're asking you lots of questions about microsite training, once you watch the microsite training, and if they're asking you questions that were answered in that, you're going to know that they didn't watch it. So it's a let's be honest type of question, but you can ask them questions about that.
Okay. Have another question.
Yes.
We have to have every one of the milestones completed, or is there like a 90% completed and we qualify?
It's 100%. It's 100% completion. Most of these are items that are check the box and they're done. For example, submit your officers, sign the affiliation agreement, regularly read the roadmap. They're check the box type things.
Okay, we're caught up.
Okay. All right. And recruitment and retention. This benchmark ensures that processes are put in place by the state in order to ensure that local networks are recruiting and retaining members in order to have viable networks. It also assesses that the network has a specific statewide strategy coupled with measurable activities that will assist local networks in attracting new members and keeping existing members. There are 4 points to this one. 5A, the network maintains a communication and outreach strategy with members at large. So what are you doing? Are you sending them emails? Are you inviting them to local networks that may be an hour away? So if they live in a small town, but they're going to be into a big town, what are you doing to communicate with your members at large? Just briefly describe that activity that you're doing. 5B, the network educates local networks specific to recruitment and retention strategies. So what are you doing to educate your local networks on recruitment and retention strategies? We just did, our national liaisons did 2 fabulous webinars on recruitment and retention, and they can earn a badge for watching those. So are you sharing those with them? Are you adding something to that for your local networks? Is there perhaps a statewide contest that you're running? Anything, describe what you're doing. 5C, how many members did you recruit in 2021? Estimated members, and this is going to be from January 1 to your submission date. So that number could be very different if you submit on August 1st as opposed to submitting on October 1st. And then finally, 5D, what was your member retention rate? Again, an estimate. We want you to be aware of your numbers. We're all in the real estate business, and that's the first thing they say. If you don't know your numbers, then you're not managing your business. So make sure that you are aware of your numbers. And I'll point this out because it was asked. We're not going to dock you if you're not right. We just want you to have some awareness of your numbers. So if you say that your retention rate was 100%, number one, that's probably not accurate. I would love for that to be accurate, but it's probably not accurate for a state to have a retention rate of 100%. But do your best estimate to know what it is. And if there is a large variance, then we might reach out to you and see where the disconnect is on that. Are there any questions on this one, Jamie?
No, I think we got it. Just a reminder that Jeff actually has answered it in the chat, but the roadmap only goes to your leaders. It does not, if you have a state, if you're in a state that has district vice presidents, as Sylvia said earlier, the district vice presidents do not get sent the roadmap. So feel free to forward it to them so that they can read the important information that's in there. But it does not go to the regular members either. But all of the membership gets the eConnect.
Absolutely.
So far.
All right. So you're probably asking, what do I need to do now? Roughly, you have about a week to complete a couple of these tasks. And if you've already done that, that box is checked and you can move on. Number 1, submit your officers to national, again, by March 1st. Sign and submit the affiliation agreement by March 1st. This needs to be signed by your state president. And as a reminder, if you're a state, we'll talk about helping your locals. They have these same deadlines of March 1st on submitting their officers to national as well as their affiliation agreement. So we'll be talking about how to help them achieve success. And this is one of the things that you'll be able to help them with by reminding them. Submit your budget to your national liaison. I'll just point it out here. The locals have the same requirement, but it's to submit their budget to their state liaison. So if you're a state liaison or state president, you might want to be reminding them if they haven't submitted their budget to submit it. Hold an orientation or make sure that your locals watch the New Year kickoff. So again, another easy item to check and get that done. Make sure your microsite training is completed. Read the roadmap for network leadership. This really is timely, relevant information that's going to help you run your state. It's going to tell you everything that's coming up, and you're going to want to read that. And as Jamie said, I'll reiterate it again, forward this to your district vice presidents. This is great information for them to have too. And then renew your members and recruit. Any questions on what you need to be doing now?
I don't see any hands raised. I don't see any questions.
All right. Jeff, we're at that part. If you want to start getting our breakout rooms, we're going to do and transition on that. We say that's the easy part. There is a lot of things into it to do your state report. But we're going to talk about how you can help your locals achieve certification. So we're transitioning into the facilitation of the local report versus actually filling out your state report. So as a state, what is your strategy going to be? Have you thought about it? First of all, I recommend you watch the local training so you know exactly what the local report is when they ask questions. So we have various levels of states on this training session. So our goal is to give ideas and suggestions across the spectrum, as we know one idea is not going to fit all. Jamie and I have come up with our top 5 suggestions that we're going to give you, but then we're going to go into breakout groups with your national liaisons and Chris to discuss what's on your mind and how you might help your local networks achieve success. So step 1, be excited. Local networks are going to follow your lead, but I have to tell you, we had over 100 people at the training on Friday, and there was so much excitement about this. They feel that they finally have a roadmap to actually lead them and help them aim and achieve success. Number 2, as I said, print this document. Encourage your local networks to print the document or save it in your phone so your leaders can track success as things happen versus waiting till the submission date, trying to go back and see, for example, on the local report, when they had an industry event, what the attendance is and all that. If they just have it sitting on their desk, they jot things as it happens, all they're doing when it's time for submission is to literally input it into an online application. Number 3, your state could create a calendar of what you need to be doing this month and send it out to all the local network leaders on the 1st of the month. Note there's going to be reminders throughout the year in the roadmap, but sometimes the leaders are going to respond to your emails more than national emails. We realize that sometimes national emails go into spam or they might not check them or all of that, but hopefully they have you marked as a VIP, so it shows up on their watch or whatever when an email comes in. So definitely remind them often of what they need to be doing. Number 4, the state liaison or maybe a district vice president have regularly scheduled calls or Zooms with local network presidents to see where each network is on the process. This is one way you're going to be able to know that 50% or more of your local networks are achieving success because you have stayed in constant contact with them. And number 5, get confirmation when they submit. Have your district vice presidents or your state liaison do a shared screen Zoom and literally walk them through submitting the report. Or ask for an email confirmation when they've submitted it so you know that it was submitted. Or if you have a live meeting during the submission dates, you could even ask everyone, bring their computers and do the submission together. So you have everyone in one room, and if they're asking any questions on what does something mean, what could it mean, what should I put in this blank, you're there to answer all the questions at one time. As the state leaders, you will be the experts on their report and can walk them through any questions. So now we are going to go into breakouts for about 10 minutes and discuss how your state might help your locals achieve success. Nothing is off limits. Our liaisons and Chris are going to be facilitating the breakout rooms. And when we'll come back, we're going to do some sharing as well as go into question and answer. So if you have any of that, we will have plenty of time to do that. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing. And Jeff, can you send us to some breakouts?
Sylvia, how long are we there?
10 minutes.